Hey, Shalom, Makim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, all honor, and all glory, excuse me, unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Merchakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, the great millstone that taught us his truth and also teaching his truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes, and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamon from the Great Millstone Dallas Camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And shalom to you few Akwath, are you very, very few sisters that believe, all right, and are obedient. And I want to do a quick lesson going in on this whole Carmelo Anthony case, an Austin Metcalf case that's been circulating in the news. It actually happened. The situation, I'd rather say, actually happened down here in Texas. And this whole ordeal, all right, is nothing more than just orchestrating chaos and orchestrating a quote-unquote race war, all right, in the midst of the confusion, in the midst of all the chaos and in the midst of all the drama. All right, Esau's allowing the fumes and the fuel, I rather say, to the fire to be fueled. Okay, and this is going to ensue in race wars. You're going to have all kinds of various different you're going to have civil war that's going to take place. You're going to have class wars, and you're going to have race wars in the last days. And these are things that the scriptures prophesy about. How the scripture says that the love of many gonna wax cold, and this ultimately goes back to prophecy of Jacob and Esau. All right, there's a perpetual, as a matter of fact, let me get it real quick. There's a perpetual hatred, all right, between the Edomites and Jacob. Okay, this is Ezekiel 35 and verse 5, just getting straight to the point. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. All right, there's always been a perpetual hatred, all right, that the Edomites had and have, I rather say, with Jacob, particularly Judah. Okay, the so-called Negro, and it's a reason as to why the Edomites, all right, which the Edomites are the so-called self-proclaimed white man and woman. It's a reason as to why the Lord allowed the Edomites, to go so hard in slavery. It was really a punishment by Yahweh Basham Shai, and he used the Edomites, all right, to be a whipping stick against us. All right, but this fake kumbaya and Jake, we shall overcome, marching and all that kind of madness is going to get to a point to where things are going to get physical. All right, the scripture also says this. I ain't read this in a while. I think it's in Zechariah. Judah bent. Zechariah 9. Yep, this is Zechariah chapter 9, verse. Let me start at verse. Let me start at verse 11. It says, as for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. And this really begins with us. Through the blood of Yahweh Shai, all right, we were in a low state, but through his blood, all right, we have been given the breath of life. The Ezekiel 37, the valley of dry bones. We have been awakened in these last days, and we've come back, all right, to our heritage and to our nationality via the sacrifice that Yahweh Shai made. And we were in a pit, wherein there's no water at one point, pretty much being sunken down in this system. All right, verse 12, it says, turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. It says, when I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. And this Greece is talking about, the Greeks. And who are the scripture says that, well, not scripture, excuse me. The saying says that civilization began with the Greeks, meaning that Esau being proud, saying that civilization began with him. So this is really a dark saying and a prophecy on how Judah is going to be Judah's going to be roused up, but Esau going to be roused up too, because these Edomites, you know, you got like individuals like Chug the Builder, I think is what his name is. Or, you know, he got locked up. You know, he will walk around provoking people. You know, predominantly provoking Jake. You know, getting them to act out of character. You know, and really just, you know, getting them to act out of character to a degree, because he would provoke them. You know, he would, you know, call him nigger, and, you know, oh, he's chimping out. You know, then when Jake would actually pull up on him, you know, he would try to pull out his gun. He would try to pull out his gun. You know, but this instance, he ran up on Jake, and Jake wasn't having it, and he ended up shooting him. He ended up shooting a guy, and then he ended up shooting himself. You know, and now he's on trial. So you got Edomites that are, you know, mad about that. You got Edomites that are coming out pretty much saying that enough is enough. As a matter of fact, let me see. There's a post that somebody made. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Nope, because Joshua Wamba sent this in the chat yesterday. This is from a Twitter handle or X handle, Supaptumo, whatever the hell that shit say. It says, "Do you guys understand how quickly the whole world is about to change now that the white man has decided it's time to pop the fuck off, the F off? Some were mistaking our patience for weakness. No, we have the highest tolerance level of all races and can maintain composure better than any of them. But once we're pushed past the breaking point, we release a terrifying amount of pent-up vengeance upon those who have done us harm. You genuinely have no idea what you have just unleashed. Get out of our way immediately." You see, and this is the average mindset, you know, of the Edomite. Okay, because Esau's back is against the wall, and I'm not for you know, by any reason or any way, I'd rather say, you know, justifying, you know, the stabbing, you know, that Karmelo Anthony did to Austin Metcalf. All right, and that little nigga deserved to get locked up. You know what I'm saying? Why the hell do you have a goddamn knife in your book bag? You know what I'm saying? Why the hell you got a goddamn knife in your book bag? And how do you even get through somebody's chest cavity? Like Oda Ariala was mentioning this morning in the chat, it's like, man, you got to stab somebody extremely hard to break through somebody's chest cavity for the knife to get through to somebody's heart. You know, extremely hard. So, you know, for him to sit here and stab somebody over like a disagreement or whatever at this track meet, man, you know, yeah, his ass need to be locked up. You know, that's just me speaking. He need to be locked up. But again, this is all orchestrated chaos, all right, that's being pushed. You know, because even in the guise of this, you're gonna have Jake that's gonna be wilding out because of this, man. Because he got like 35 years. He's 19. He got charged as an adult. You know, he ain't gonna come out. You know, I mean, Babylon gonna be destroyed by then. But if he were to come out, you know, he'll be in his 50s. You know, so pretty much his young life, he gonna be in prison. You know, thinking about the actions that happen, and you're gonna have Jake that's gonna be acting out of pocket. You know, uproar, and you're gonna have Edomites that are gonna be acting out of pocket. So this, you know, it's gonna stir more controversy. Now this is a video on X. Let me refresh this video. Let me refresh this page here so that the video can play back.
Go in the courthouse after hours, but you can be on the courthouse property. It is public property that I pay for. Here's the Metcalf family. They are leaving right now. Here they are.
So this is the Metcalf family coming out the courthouse after the verdict. And mind you, keep in mind, I'm sorry I keep pausing the video, but keep in mind, Esau has a plan. Esau has a plan of action. All right, he has an agenda that he's following, and he needs situations like this to ensue more draconian laws, man. Remember, the scripture talks about how he frames mischief He frames mischief by law. All right, just keep all this in mind. You hear Eve in the background. We're glad Austin's dead. We're glad he dead. The black woman, notorious Eve.
You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew.
I want you guys to know that I am 6 foot even. My phone is at my head.
You guys knew they were bullying. You guys knew they were bullying.
Karmelo Anthony was 5 feet 9, 5 feet 8, something like that. So
all right, that's enough of that video. So here's another post from X. This is from Matt Wallace. He said, "Low IQ animals, low IQ animals." Now you know who was screaming, and typically who was out there. It was Jake. So this is really how Esau think. Low IQ animals scream racist slurs at Austin Metcalf's family as they leave the courthouse. They then block their car in to stop them from leaving peacefully. It says, imagine your brother/son was just murdered and you have to deal with these hysterical freaks.
they are leaving right now. Here they are.
You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew he was a bully.
I am 6 foot even. My phone is at my head. And
You guys knew they
the
were
guy in the back is his brother.
This is brother right here.
Let him leave. Let him leave.
You see, so Jake is gonna act out. It says, discuss the video. Karmelo Anthony supporter declares both brothers, right? Should have been dead outside. And this is fair use, by the way. I'm not using this information for any kind of monetary gain. I'm not using this information for anything of that nature. This is all free information that I got online that I'm freely using, right? It says, Karmelo Anthony supporters declared both brothers should have been unalived outside courthouse after guilty verdict. Black Panthers push race war, and we all know that the Black Panthers, all right, is a CIA operative group that has been infiltrated. We all know that it's been infiltrated by the CIA. So if they're pushing these race wars, the Black Panthers are. Esau's behind it. Okay, Esau's behind this 100%. Okay, and this is all orchestrated madness for more draconian laws to get popped off. But it will be, all right, it will be a race war. All right, you will have race wars. Now there was another one I had lined up. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Not this one. Okay, look at this one. This is another one. Let me refresh the screen on this one. Free Karmelo. You're gonna unalive. You see the word there. I don't want to say it. You know what I'm saying? Due to the algorithm. It says Florida digital creator assaults innocent. You see how they capitalize assault, which he did assault. And this nigga here deserve. You about to see the video. Because Jake act like goddamn animals, man. Jake act like goddamn animals when it comes down to these situations, which make Jake look even worse. Because we don't condone any of this, but we understand and know that these things have to happen. All right, according to prophecy. Okay. Florida digital creator assaults innocent white man following Karmelo Anthony verdict, accusing him of being on the jury, because he had a so-called all Edomite or so-called all white jury. So they're saying and could there be so-called racist implications in that aspect? Yes. But again, we look at everything from a prophetical lens. Okay. Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai is giving us the eyes to see things through a prophetical lens. So when we see these things, we welcome it. Because these are the birth pains before Yahweh Shai returns. There's going to be all kinds of turmoil, man. Yahweh Shah said, I have come to send fire on earth, and what would I if it already be kindled? You know, so you're going to have all kinds of civil unrest that's going to be taking place. And some of the civil unrest will be it will be racially pushed. Let's see if I can listen to the AI playback of this video or this page, and then we'll play a part of the video. Just give it a second here.
Free Karmelo. You're gonna die. Florida.
Yeah, see, hell no. But I'm gonna jump straight to the video. All right, now this is on X. All right, it says, and this is another one. Black man in Florida filmed himself in an anti-white, racially motivated attack. Down to 4 crackers in the free Karmelo by punching a veteran in the head off of internet fame. He told, and look at this guy. Look at this dude on the left. Goddamn YN. A YN. And it, you know, I wouldn't want to be around him at all. If I see him walking across, if I'm walking down the street and I see him coming my direction, I'm going on the other side of this. I'm going on the other side of the street. Okay, I'm going on the other side of the street because I know that this nigga here, they just could say that what it says, walk not in the paths of evil men. You know, you eschew yourself. We gotta eschew for ourselves from evil. Being around this nigga right here, you know, is nothing but negative, bad energy. Negative, bad energy, man. Look at this guy.
Hey, wasn't you on jury selection?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
He was on jury selection.
He's a vet, dude. He's a vet. He ain't been on jury selection.
I ain't worried about that. You gonna die. You on jury? Wasn't you on jury?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
You on jury selection? You was on jury selection. Oh, not for Anthony, not for Karmelo Anthony. Oh,
You see how Jay gonna act out due to this whole thing? Jay gonna act a goddamn fool, and it's gonna cause Esau and the spirit of the Lord. Hey, Yahweh Shemal Shah gonna turn the spirit of these Edomites up. Hey, you gotta remember, man, these Edomites, man, these are base people. These are base men. They love blood. It's just the Lord turned their spirits down. But you know, the true colors of Esau, man, is getting ready to come out. All right, in a way that, man, these Jakes out here is finna get a foot up their ass sideways. Now Jake gonna get down too, you know. But come on, man. You know, but this is the shit that, you know, these Edomites is gonna see. You know, this is damn, I just closed it by mistake. Let me see. And this is Jasmine Crockett. You know, was just goddamn, you know, the notorious EVE, a failed Senate candidate and U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett reacted to the Karmelo Anthony verdict on Tuesday, suggesting that Anthony was justified in unaliving Austin Metcalf, and that she would have done the same. You see what I'm saying? You see it, and you see now they got someone, you know, a so-called representative, which everybody, all these Jakes be, Jasmine Crockett, you know, voting for Jasmine Crockett when she a goddamn demon, man. You know? Let's look at this, man. It might be an
Hey everybody, it's NASCAR driver Casey Mears. And prior to our partnership for the Daytona 500, my family's been...
Now, the last part that I'll add on this is like there are people that argued about the escalation, okay? Because self-defense is, you know, I want to say eye for eye. It's the easiest way for me to do it, as I'm trying to basically, like, you know, explain it very simply to y'all or whatever. That's basically what it is, right? Like, you punch me, I punch you back. You cuss me, I cuss you back. You slap me, I slap you back. You shoot at me, I shoot you back. Like, so that's a very simplistic way, but obviously we have different levels of force, which is why us most of the time as black people feel away, because like black people just be walking down the street and they be like, but I feared for my life, and you were a whole trained officer and you were scared. You were scared. as a whole, fully trained, licensed officer, and somehow you get to use deadly force. And people are like, that's cool, because you just should have just been quiet. You should have just stayed still. You should have just gave them your license. Like, they come up with every excuse, right? So,
which you should. What does the scripture say? The scripture says, agree with thine adversary quickly while you're in the way with him. That's what Yahweh Shah said. We're not to resist the power, but what do you see Jake do? Let me get your bad number. Let me get your bad number. Let me talk to your supervisor. Let me talk to your sergeant. Let me talk to your captain. No, you can't pull me off. You can't pull me off. You can't do it. And they in a bow, unalive. You know what I'm saying? So no, no. The scriptures give us clear instructions on what to do.
I do want to say that while the simplistic way of describing this is kind of eye for eye, it's still a little bit of gray area. Because again, me as a 5'3" woman, if a 300-pound man is beating me, like on top of me and beating me down, I'm not limited to fist. Because I'm telling you right now, if you are twice my weight and got way more strength than me, and you got me pinned down, I don't believe I'm going to survive. And when you look at even like George Floyd died and they never took out a quote unquote weapon, right? So this idea that,
well, you get the point, man. Her voice is annoying, but you get the point. They're trying to justify, the action behind it. And at the end of the day, I could bat an eye on all that shit. You know what I'm saying? But looking at it spiritually, we understand and know what it really is. Because last thing I'm gonna do is on Tuesday, the House just passed a $70 billion immigration enforcement bill funding ICE and CBP through 2029. The House of Representatives on Tuesday passed the Secure America Act, a $70 billion immigration enforcement bill, in a 214 to 212 vote along party lines. The legislation now goes to President Donald Trump for his signature, according to multiple reports. And this bill is going to fund, ICE, Customs and Border Protection. And ICE was just getting down some months ago. That was getting down, all up in the hood, all up in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? On these various different places, they was getting down, man. So I don't find this ironic. All right, I don't find this ironic, because these uproars that are getting ready to take place, man. Jacob's trouble is getting ready to happen. All right, remember what the year is called? The year, the year of apostasy, sellouts, and the year of Jacob's trouble. Okay, remember, Jacob's trouble has to happen. So, I just wanted to just give my 2 cents on this whole Carmelo Anthony situation, how this is all orchestrated chaos. I pray this was an edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Shai. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem HaKakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and that's what teaching this truth. Much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.